welcome to VegaFit, where we discuss everything fitness. For tonight's episode, we are in the beautiful island of Palawan where our guest is having her vacation. She is an OFW or an overseas Filipino worker, Miss Jesselyn. I hope her story of mental tenacity will help you and resonate with you. Stay tuned.
Hello, welcome to VegaFit, where we discuss everything fitness. Today's episode is about the mental health of overseas workers. So we have here Miss Jesslyn. So you have been an overseas worker for how many years?
I think more than 8 years. I've been working as a overseas worker and it was very tough. And I can say that it's not just a piece of cake, but it's really a rocky road journey.
Most Filipinos wanted to work abroad and be a nurse because that's where the salary is very high, right? Is it true?
Yeah. As compared here in the Philippines, the salary rate is much bigger. Working abroad like Saudi Arabia, UK, or even in the United States. But one thing we have to consider is that our mental health is at risk as well, since we are prone to depression. Aside from that, the homesickness of every worker that we have to endure every day since we are far from our family, and the conflicts that we have to deal every day that has too much to deal with every day that we have to go through with it. And on top of that, we have also this personal struggle, not just financially, but more on emotionally or even to mental exhaustion.
Okay, so have you always wanted to become a nurse?
Interesting question. Honestly, it was the decision for my mother to took up nursing, but later on, as I worked as a nurse, fortunately, I started to love it, and nowadays, I think I am destined to be a nurse.
You can see now that you will be a nurse until you retire.
Yeah, definitely. I can feel that this is my passion, and I can see myself in my future that I will be working as a staff nurse in the hospital.
Wow, that's really something. Have you always wanted to work abroad, or is it because you're a nurse, so you have to work abroad?
No, it was not really my plan to work abroad since emotionally I have to face those challenges. I really wanted to serve here in my homeland, but I cannot survive by my own because of less compensation. While working abroad, it's not that I can just pay for myself, but I can help also feed my family, and at the same time, I can save for my future plans, especially for my future investments.
Wow, interesting. I like those words. But we have to focus on our first. It was 8 years, right? So you're probably young when you started. Do you have friends who urged you to go abroad, or did you just went abroad on your own?
I just went on my own. It was a difficult journey for me since I don't have someone to be with, and financially I was incapable of paying my bills at that time. So every day I have to buy those things for me to survive. And one thing that I sort out for me to survive on that stage was to get out from this country and work abroad. That was also the best decision that I had.
Have you served the country before you work abroad?
Oh, yes. But it was just
Volunteer.
a volunteer nurse because I could not have this regular item or what they called as.
Were you in the government?
Yeah. I was in the government, but I was not the job order because I don't have a backer.
Yeah.
That's the saddest part here
Working
in
here.
our country.
Okay. So has it always been difficult? So how about during the pandemic, which is more harsh for health workers? How did you cope up with it? It's been like 2 to 3 years on the pandemic, right? And as a staff nurse at the hospital. So how does that feel? You said it was already difficult.
Oh, it was ironic. Everyone was spread about it because a lot of patients are dying, hospitals are worried about how to manage other patients as well as the supply of the personal protective equipment. But for me, it's the opposite. I feel so positive on it that I can go through with it because this is just a struggle. This is just a challenge for me that I am sure that I can overcome.
Have you had a patient who is a fellow Filipino that died during the pandemic? Because my cousin died at the same country. So how does that feel? Were there Filipinos who approached you?
Yeah, a lot. Regardless of the gender, regardless of the age we have, as far as I can remember, we had this 40 years old mother, and we have also this 59 years old father who happens to had the vacation spot. Unfortunately, he was hit by COVID-19. So at that time, I was positive at first that he can overcome about it, but then after a few weeks, he died suddenly because of COVID-19. It was so sad on our part that he was not able to overcome that challenge. And indeed, life is too short.
Yeah. So how do you deal with that when patients are dying and the whole hospital environment was too toxic? How do you deal with patients who are, I think most of the patients also are depressive at that time?
Yes, even the healthcare workers at that time, they have been through a state of depression. But for me, I make sure that I kept on detaching myself from the emotional trauma and emotional distress. So what I did was I exercised regularly. Aside from that, I keep reading books that can motivate my mental health at the same time. I choose those articles that can boost my emotional well-being. So that was very helpful on my part.
Could you cite a specific book that really helped you during the pandemic?
Oh, yes. Well, an example of the author was Ruben Sharma and Robert Kiyosaki. So
Wow.
he helps me then
Investment.
to open up the world of financial literacy.
Oh yeah, that's really good. I mean, rather than focusing on the negative impact of COVID and the economy, you're trying to be open about investing. So, did that help you focusing on investment rather than even if the economy is really low and then you're trying to study about
Oh,
your
yes.
finances? Yeah, can you share?
Yeah, it helps me a lot. I can see that my coworkers at the time was also paranoid about the events of the world. But for me, one thing that I always keep on telling myself at the time was the only thing that I can control of is my mind and my feelings. So what I did was to focus instead of reading books on financial literacy. So from then on, I started to venture on real estate and possible building up apartments. Although at that time and even at this time, I don't have enough funds to have this kind of investments. But I guess it helps me a lot to open up at the idea of making money work hard for me instead of working so hard for it.
Yeah, because when you're a nurse, you have to work for the money.
Yeah.
But you know what? I love Robert Kiyosaki too.
Oh,
Yeah, I even love to play that game Cash Flow.
oh,
Yeah. Yeah, I really played Cash Flow. And I think that's really a very good game. You should play that game. It talks about stocks, it talks about real estate and the benefits of diversifying your investments.
Mm.
Wow. So, do you even listen to the news? Because the news is very negative in all aspects.
No, I did not. I choose not to listen. I choose not to watch any news in regards to COVID, except for the vaccine, since I was hoping also at the time to have the development of vaccine to help us eradicate that virus. And fortunately, after 1 year and a half, they developed the first one, the Pfizer and Moderna. So at this time, I guess, because of vaccine, it helps us to fight that virus.
I have a question about vaccines because frontline workers are like the guinea pig for the vaccine, right? Because
Yeah.
so what did you feel like mentally? Were you ready for it emotionally? Because like, hey, what would happen? Anything
Yeah.
can happen, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, how did
Yeah,
you feel about it?
At first, I doubt about the credibility of the vaccine since I thought also that it's a trial and error.
Mm-mm.
But since then, that I realized that it's been effective because of vaccine. The virus COVID-19 has a less effect on us. But first, as we remember, that the first 6 months was very critical since a lot of patients are dying since vaccine is not yet developed. But because of vaccine, although they developed COVID-19, but it has milder symptoms compared to non-vaccinated person.
Okay, so you're not scared of the side effects. Did it not occur to you as some anxiety?
At first, it really caused me to doubt about it, and I was hesitant actually to be vaccinated. I thought it all over again, but finally, with the explanations of some doctors,
You were convinced.
yeah, I was convinced that I need to be vaccinated.
Okay, so aside from reading books, do you have like a personal experience during those times? Because your family is away from you, and then they will report that, oh, we have COVID here, they get sick. So how did you feel? How did you manage that? Because it's like double kill. When you are here working, you're also worried about yourself and COVID, and then your family, you're also worried of your family here in the Philippines. So yeah, how did that go?
I tried my best to focus on the positive side. I tried my best to maintain my sanity instead of worrying about my family and the events of the world at that time. I focused more on the positive side. I focused more on the happy moments of my life. Instead of discussing about the effects of COVID-19 together with my colleagues, instead of talking about the senses of our patients, I choose to stay in my room and do some exercise and listen to music. And sometimes while listening to music, I keep dancing also.
Wow, Jess, you know the dance. Oh, wow, that's nice. Or anyway, did any member of your family in the Philippines had COVID?
Yeah, my brother and my father, when he was alive, they're telling that they were positive.
How did that affect you?
I was confident at the time that they can overcome it.
Wow.
Yeah, and fortunately, they did. But after 6 months, my father died because of cardiac arrest. So it was tragic for me.
I'm sorry for that, Jess. How did you overcome that?
It was really difficult for me at first. I thought I was prepared about the death of my father since he suffered with heart failure for more than 5 years.
Mm-mm.
And we were preparing for his death. But it was hard for me to move on because I was not there beside him when he died. At the same time, I felt guilty that I wasn't able to take care of him since I am a nurse and I was capable of nursing him. So if I have the chance to bring back the time, I would rather be with him instead of taking care of someone or working abroad. So indeed, life is too short. We have to spend our time together with our family.
So, is that the reason why you wanted to continue to becoming a nurse? Because you're carrying that guilt?
No,
With your
not
father?
because of the guilt, but because of those circumstances, because of the death of my father, and not just that, because of the death of also of my relatives who happens to ask some help for me since I was a nurse at the time already. So it's as if that it's really my calling to be a nurse because someone needs me. So I guess even if at first I hate this profession since it is indeed stressful, I hate to work inside the hospital because of the behavior of the patient as well as the relatives, and not just with those persons but together with the workers, the doctors, and even the co-nurses. But along the journey, when the day ends, I feel fulfilled about this profession that I'm able to overcome those challenges, even though that they are downers, they are negative
Yeah.
so much.
Speaking of the negative, because nurses are always harassed in the Philippines and in abroad. Nurses are called many names. Do foreign patients do that too?
I am very thankful for them that they give me a chance to work their country, and especially that they are honoring also our presence as a Filipino nurse. But we cannot avoid those some people that they are treating us less than what we deserve. I mean, they're treating like we are not human, and they are calling us like a dog.
Ah, okay.
And sometimes they are also shouting against us, even if that is not supposedly the right treatment for us.
Mm.
So emotionally, they are harassing, and sometimes physically.
I mean, Filipinos do that too. I think most patients who are in distress hurt nurses or even caregivers. And how it's hard because most nurses now get hurt on social media, right? There are a lot of posts of nurses getting hurt when they are being called yaya, sulugoon sa hospital, and many more. So, what can you advise to your fellow nurses who are when the ego is hurt because of how people see and treat them?
I don't mind them because they don't know about the profession of nursing. We've been through 4 years or almost 5 years studying nursing. So it's not about the salugoon or being yaya. It's being professionalism because they don't understand the real world of nursing, the real responsibility as a nurse. So just don't mind them. Focus on providing quality care for the patient. Because at the end of the day, it's not about the names that they been putting on their mind, but it's about the care that we have to provide for our patients. So and that's really a big impact on the end of our journey because every now and then they need us. Once in their life, they might be in the hospital, they need our help. So just focus on striving to provide quality care.
Okay. So, for your fellow nurses who are suffering mentally, overseas workers that are having problems with their family, thinking about their family, what's your advice to them?
Well, the first thing is to give time to unwind yourself, break the routine, and go to a certain place that is new to you so that you can have new places or a new adventure for your life. Because sometimes we have to unwind ourselves, we have to regain our energy from a certain environment. So things like problems from our families and even with our work, it's really beyond our control. So I guess it's just a matter of handling it. And even if we can solve it immediately, the only thing that we can control is our feelings and our thoughts. So strive to be positive all the time and strive to be happy and maintain our sanity because what really matters is our health, because living abroad is really a tough world since we are living alone there and no one will help us, no one would be willing to help us in times of our need. So that's it.
How about those workers who are also parents? Because they always have an excuse like, hey, I have children to feed. I cannot just go out and whine because I need to save always for my children. Can you give an advice for them too?
I adore them for their heroic responsibilities and being a responsible parents. They sacrifice a lot for the sake of their children to give them a brighter future. What can I recommend is that give also a time for themselves, like some time to unwind and savings as well, especially if they are the breadwinner. They have to save for themselves because when you get sick or when you get old, no one else is willing to help you. That's the reality nowadays. Working abroad, no one is willing or no one is thinking about your welfare. So you have to allocate some amounts of money for yourself, not just about sending all your money for your children or for your family.
Wow. Thank you very much, Jess. Do you have final words for our listeners who might want to venture abroad?
If you really want to work abroad, then go for it as long as you desire to work abroad. But if not, then stay where you are or do the work or do your passion because whatever your passion is, life will be more happier if you pursue your passion. So it's not just about money, but you have to live your life because we only have one life.
Wow. Thank you so much, Jess.
I hope you learned something valuable today and continue to support VeggieFit. Because here at VeggieFit, we may not still be fit and still far from being spiritual, but we're working on it every day. Thank you for listening and see you again in our next podcast. Bye.